Workington Academy Radio presents Behind the Algorithm. Hello there and welcome to Behind the Algorithm, a podcast in which us here at Workington Academy Radio will be diving into social media and the effects it has on children and their mental health. This is the first episode of the series and we have a very special guest today, Josh MacAlister, our local MP.
Hello, great to be with you.
Thanks for joining us today. For listeners who may not know, can you please introduce yourself and explain your role as the MP?
I am your Member of Parliament, but for those who are listening beyond West Cumbria, I'm the Member of Parliament for Whitehaven and Workington. I'm also the Minister for Children and Families in the UK Labour government.
Sounds very important.
Yeah.
Right. What does being MP for West Cumbria involve day to day?
It is incredibly varied and it starts pretty much every week with me getting up at the crack of dawn to do the long journey down to London. And I'm there from Monday through to Thursday most weeks in Parliament or in the Department for Education, either answering questions in the House of Commons on the green benches where you'll be familiar with seeing people making a racket and a bit of a fool of themselves sometimes. And in the Department for Education, meeting people and trying to make some decisions about improving things for children around the country. And then I'll come back on a Thursday, try and do a visit usually. So I was in Liverpool yesterday on the way back. And then on Fridays, I'm doing things like this, which is hanging out in my constituency. I've been to the UTC today. I've been to Lakes College. I've been to a primary school. I'm now here with you at Workington Academy Secondary School. Then I'm off to do a surgery in town after this, and then finishing the day with a big roundtable meeting with farmers in the area, and then tomorrow doing a bunch more stuff, and then I'm going to switch off for the weekend. That's pretty typical.
Sounds very busy.
Very, very.
Ollie, next question, please.
Right. You've spoken about the impact of social media on children's mental health and sleep. What worries you the most?
I think the thing that worries me the most is, so I've just come from Lakes College and I was speaking to a room of 16, 17-year-olds. And I'll ask this to groups of teenagers in all sorts of different places. I'll ask them to get their phones out and look at the average screen time that they spend on their devices. And I don't know about you three, but if you did that, it's normal to see young people spending 4, 5, 6, maybe sometimes more than 6 hours a day on their smartphone. And most of that is time gobbled up on TikTok and apps that are scrolling and often not giving them very much. And my concern is that it's taking time away from real world interaction. So whereas you might have used to spent time with your friends, hanging out together, falling out, making up, just being in each other's company and finding ways to entertain one another and just sort of learning how to grow up and interact with other people. We've now got so many teenagers locked away, often in their bedrooms, scrolling for hours, way into the night, and it's not making them happier. And my worry is it's doing quite the opposite and making a lot of young people pretty anxious and sad. So that is my big worry, that it's displacing time that teenagers used to spend doing other healthier stuff, and it's taking up that time, filling it with things which are all about grabbing your attention and keeping hold of it for as long as possible.
Yeah, because it could just be about killing time and taking time away from doing other things that could help your brain in better ways.
We often hear about anxiety and constant comparison and classroom distractions. How serious do you think these effects are?
Yeah, I think, I spend a lot of time speaking to teachers, including at your school and across my constituency. And there's a pretty resounding message from teachers at the moment, which is that young people seem a lot more unhappy than they've been in other generations. There's this amazing opportunity that comes with internet and social media and technology in allowing you to be connected, access information, learn lots of things that you kind of pursue your own interests. But I think lots of teachers are worried that because we've not really set any ground rules around all of that stuff, we've basically given young people the equivalent of a supercar, and we've turned the seatbelt off, and we've turned the safety features off, and we've put you all on the road at the same time. And the consequences are some of the mental health things that we're seeing, issues around lack of sleep, concerns from health professionals about eyesight, lots of things which I think the government, we are waking up to. And it's why we've recently announced this big consultation on what we should do to take action to curb screen time and social media use.
Yeah, and speaking of that, there has been discussion internationally about banning social media for under 16s, under 15s, but not phones themselves. Why do you think social media is the main concern?
Because, I mean, look, it'd be good to get your views on this. I think social media is giving you often a view of the world which isn't realistic, and a version of humans about how they look, how they might behave, what their life is like, that is so unachievable in real life. And it is designed, the sort of basic business model is to grab and keep your attention. That's how they make money. So they're going to make it as addictive as possible. They're going to keep your attention for as long as possible. And they're going to fill your feed with a load of stuff that isn't realistic and sometimes is actively harmful. And that is replacing a lot of time that you might have spent doing other stuff. So I don't know how you feel, but for the three of you, I mean, if you spent, let's say you just sort of didn't plan to, but you end up spending an hour on TikTok, how do you feel at the end of it?
No better.
Yeah,
it just feels like time wasted and just kind of
being a bit sludgy.
Yeah, being a bit sludgy and kind of just getting engrossed in things that are unrealistic and not happening, and things like just to like try and twist my mind.
Go down rabbit holes.
Yeah.
And look, the thing is, adults find that. And if adults are finding that happening, and we've got some of us fully formed brains, then what chance do kids have? So this is why I think this is really welcome that as a government we've decided to do this big consultation.
With TikTok though, there is like a section you can go on and it teaches you stuff for your GCSEs and things like that.
In the STEM section.
Yeah, what do you think about that on TikTok and social media?
How much time do you spend looking at that stuff versus other stuff on TikTok?
I think I might accidentally click on it a few times and then like, I don't want to go back onto the For You page.
I think you've answered my question, haven't you? Look, of course, if you've got these views about curbing social media use and trying to get young people spending their time more in the real world, of course there's going to be some good stuff on Instagram or Snapchat or TikTok. Like, of course there is. I guess the question is, in total, is the net effect of it positive or negative? And could you be getting good information from other places that's interesting about topics or subjects that you're passionate about on the internet? We're not talking about banning the internet. We are putting on the table as an option banning social media for under 16. So yeah, look, there's obviously good bits, but in total, I think the effect, lots of young people see the effect as being pretty harmful.
And I think that leads us on very nicely to the next question, which Ollie will be asking you.
I will. I think we've gathered your opinion really, but what is your opinion on banning it in the UK?
I think it's great that the government have put that on the table as an option. And in Australia, the result is, I think, something like 5 million accounts have been taken down since the ban came in. I don't think it would solve every problem. I think what's quite attractive about a clear ban is it sets a social norm, which says for everybody, actually, if you're under 16, you just shouldn't be on social media. A bit like smoking, right? If you're not the age where you're allowed to smoke, you shouldn't be smoking. Now, some people will still smoke. Same with alcohol. If you're under the age of 18, you can't buy alcohol, but some people will still buy alcohol. But for the vast majority, they won't. And it sets that kind of collective norm. And the government does have a role to play in setting collective norms. So I think it's attractive because it's simple. But in the consultation, we are gathering lots of different views and we want to hear from people who've got a different take. It may well be that there are other ways to achieve the same goal, using data law or putting age caps on certain types of functions that may be on computer games or they might be on social media. So there's a bunch of different options. I guess the point is we're now in this place where we're saying we're going to have to do something. It's going to have to be bold, but we want to get it right.
Yeah, and do you think the focus should be on completely banning access or on properly training young people on how to use social media safely?
So I don't think the answer is in training young people to use it safely. Like that might play a very small part of a wider strategy, but looking at this through the lens of individual young people being educated puts the responsibility onto you. Now, I don't know what you think about this, but if you had a lesson in school that was about algorithms and how addictive content might be, and you had loads of that information available, and to be honest, I suspect you probably know a lot of that stuff yourselves anyway, would it change your behaviour when these are platforms that are by design addictive? They are there, built by super smart people with billions of pounds to spend, and all they are trying to do is grab your eyeballs and lock them onto the screen and keep them there. Education alone is not going to stand a chance at solving that problem. And one of the ways that we know that is that the tech industry for years have been throwing money at trying to get lessons about being safe on the internet into classrooms. I've been to see some of those sessions. Even when children and young people are given that information, it doesn't recognize the scale of the addictive nature of the content. So yeah, I think like it may have a small part to play, but it's not going to get us to where we need to.
Yeah, and Charlie, you want to go with for that one?
That one. If we don't teach healthy habits early, do we risk delaying the problem until people become adults?
So look, I think part of this is recognizing that you've got more agency and self-control as you get older. That is how human development works. That's why we make lots of choices about what people can do at certain ages. And that applies, I think, to the thing that we're talking about here, which is social media. So delaying social media accounts, social media use, I think gives young people that chance to at least have the breathing space of being able to do other stuff in the time that they might have lost and develop themselves to the point where they can be more in control of whether or not they want to be spending that time online. So that's why we're not talking about changing this for adults. But yeah, I'm pretty taken by the argument that, you know, well, let me put it this way. If the argument is we think this stuff's harmful and you're going to be harmed anyway, we just want you to harm yourself slowly over more years, I just think that's a crazy argument.
Yeah, I suppose that is a very good point.
So about the companies on social media, how much responsibility should they take for the mental health impact?
I think they should take a huge amount of responsibility. They're making huge amounts of profit off your attention and the advertising and the data that they get as a result of it. And I think they are pretty aware of some of the widespread harms that it's causing. If we look back at debates about alcohol and debates about tobacco and debates about car safety decades and decades ago, some of those debates before even I was born, and I'm quite a lot older than you guys, the exact same things happened, which was the industry said, if you make these rules, then we'll lose business and we might go bust and there'll be jobs put at risk. Or they'd say, this won't work, you know, some people will just ignore it. Or they say, the research isn't clear. These are all the same arguments that we're now hearing from the tech industry about this topic. So this is just one in a long line of big global companies doing what they do very effectively, which is protecting their interests. The problem is that everyone's woken up to this and they can see it for what it is, which is big tech making lots of money off the attention of young people, and the collateral is poor mental health, poor sleep, and an impact on children's overall well-being, and that's what needs to change.
In places like New Zealand, young people have already found ways to get around social media bans. Does that undermine how effective the bans can be?
When we put age limits on alcohol or cigarettes, I remember when I was at school, there was a decent chunk of the school who'd go around the back of the bike shed and have a fag. And that obviously was not good. I'm not encouraging that. But the vast majority of students at the school knew you weren't allowed to do it. And then the question was like, how do we get the final 10 or 20% of young people to get on board as well? So a ban, if that's the route we go down in the UK, is not going to be the only answer to this. We're going to have to find other ways to curb it, but at least it sets a kind of social norm. The other thing worth saying is that tech is moving so fast that whatever solution we pick here in the UK, we're going to have to keep up with tech. So that might mean, we age gate VPNs. So you need to demonstrate your age in order to download a VPN, because I know that that's one of the things that's being used to get around the age restrictions. It might mean that we may have to, on app stores, have age verification at app store level. So there's a whole bunch of things that could be done that would tighten this up. But the overall principle is, should we set a social norm that's different to the one at the moment about use of some of these platforms?
And if restrictions are that easy to bypass, does education and trust become just as important as the enforcement?
Yeah, I think there's definitely some value in young people being aware of how some of these platforms work and what the effect of it is. But I'm aware of how unproductive it is for me to be spending time on social media. I'm aware of how much time it takes out from doing other things, and how having, if I go down the rabbit hole of like looking at Instagram for 40 minutes, I don't feel better after it. Now, I'm 38. I know quite a lot about this issue. I know that I shouldn't really be wasting my time doing that, and yet I still do it. So this is my point about education, that like these things are designed to be addictive. They are addictive. Education alone won't touch the sides.
And Charlie, you've got the next question.
Yep. What worries you the most about the long-term effects on social media if nothing changes?
If nothing changes, I think it's the sense of isolation and unhappiness amongst young people. The sense that they aren't valued, or they don't feel like they can achieve because they're looking at a whole bunch of stuff that's just not realistic. And we've got amazing young people in our area, and I'd never want them to feel that way. And then there's a sort of deeper issue here about the future of democracy, because loads of young people, so I've been at colleges this morning speaking to young people who are at the voting age now, or have recently hit the voting age, so like 16, 17, 18. All of their information in terms of news is through TikTok. They don't look at news websites. They're not looking at news that's filtered through journalists who have a professional craft of checking sources, verifying information, making sure they have fact. If they get stuff wrong, then going and correcting the record. There's none of that on TikTok. It's just like a deluge of nonsense most of the time. And again, it's designed to grab your attention. It's not designed to be balanced or informative. Now, if you're getting all your view of the world and how politics works through TikTok, what does it mean for the future health of democracy and voting and all those important things here in the UK? So I do worry about that, and I worry about that as an MP, but I also worry about it having started my career as a citizenship teacher in secondary schools, where I know that young people are hungry to understand the world and be able to make sense of it and feel powerful about how they can shape it. And I'm guessing you three feel exactly the same way. And we've got to make sure that you're growing up in a world that gives you that information so that you can make good decisions for you and for your families.
You said about democracy. If people come to vote, like in a few years' time, people of our age who have just been fed all this information from social media, maybe it could be like a lack of true information or misinformation that could sway the vote or sway their opinion on who to vote for.
Exactly, right? And it's not as if there aren't other countries or other actors around the world that are deliberately trying to undermine British values and swing elections here in the UK. So there's examples of Russian interference in the UK. China as a country has got a very clear position in the world about arguing for authoritarian government, long-term, not interested in democracy. So we've got other countries out there making the argument that democracy doesn't matter. They truly believe that. That's their worldview. And we have to, if we're going to be a rock of stability in the world as a country that is a safe place for people to invest and do business and feel like they've got liberty and freedom because it's a democracy, that starts in our classrooms. And that is based on the information that you have access to and how you can make sense of the world. A healthy democracy starts in classrooms, and the fuel, the oxygen of it is information. And if we are serious about protecting and strengthening our democracy into the future, we've got to make sure we get those things right.
So we're going to go a bit more personally with you and personal reflection. So how do you personally manage your social media use, if it can be used? Because I have heard that it can't be used by politicians, and my uncle is in Workington Town Council, and he says he really shouldn't be using it either. But how do you manage stuff like that?
Well, so look, the first thing to say is it's really important that I do use it, because it's how I communicate with a lot of voters. So they, constituents will get in touch with me via social media. They will see what I'm doing by social media. So all that stuff matters. We use it extensively. So Matt in my team is here in the studio with us. Matt, because he's quite a lot younger than me, manages the TikTok account. Other people in my team do Facebook and Instagram. I don't look at that all that often. So obviously I'll speak to Matt and I'll speak to the rest of the team about what sort of responses we should have, but I am not the one managing those accounts, which is, I think, really healthy, because otherwise I'd be on there all the time. I personally have got an app, like a separate app, that limits my access to social media so that I don't spend loads of time on it, which is a bit mad, right? So I've had to download an app to stop me using some other apps, but it works quite well, so it kind of limits my time. And I would like to spend less time on social media. The time that I'm spending on my phone is mostly WhatsApp, and that's work messages and emails. But yeah, that's how we do it. But I think, look, you've got to, as a politician, you've got to go to where voters are, and a lot of voters are on social media. The reason we've got a TikTok account is because there's lots of young people on there and they're getting information. If they're on there and they're getting information, I want to make sure they're getting information from me and from the Labour Party, not just from Reform and Nigel Farage, and that's really important.
Charlie, you want to go ahead with this next question?
What do you think your most used app is? I know you just said something to do with your emails, but in social media.
It's WhatsApp, definitely WhatsApp. And that is because it's just, as a messaging app, just a way of lots of MPs contacting each other. And actually, I speak to my office, my constituency office through it. I speak to my private office in the department for education through it. It's a really quick and efficient way of doing work. So I spend too many hours a day looking at WhatsApp messages and replying.
Would you class that as a social media platform?
Yeah, it's a good question. I probably wouldn't classify WhatsApp as a social media platform. I think it's a messaging platform.
So going into that, sorry, but like Snapchat as well and other places like that, some could argue, when we've been talking to some students in our school about it, I've asked them, do you think Snapchat is something that would consider banning as well, or do you think that's more of like a messaging?
I think Snapchat's social media. But look, so this is a really good question. If we do ban social media for under 16s, one of the things we're going to have to do is actually write down a definition of what social media is. And I think, therefore, one of the more helpful ways to think about this is, what are the features, what are the things about the app that make it social media or not social media? Is it that it's got large group chat that is not live? Is it that it has endless scrolling? Is it that it kind of gives you streak rewards for coming back to it time and time again? So we could describe some of those features and say, if it's got these features, then it is banned, or if it's got these features, then you can't have it under this certain age. So there's ways to kind of categorize it.
Yeah. What is, would you say, your personal screen time, and how does it affect you?
My personal screen time on my phone every day is probably 3.5 hours, which, and I've looked at it, so yeah, it is about 3.5 hours, and it's come down since I've put that app on the phone, and that is almost all WhatsApp and listening to the radio, which counts as screen time for some unusual reason, and email. But what helps is in the week, I'm often so busy, I actually just don't have time to pick up my phone that much. Yeah,
and that seems like it could be healthy, having something that you're passionate about that just kind of helps you drift away from picking up your phone.
Yeah. So a question for you guys about that, I guess, would be, because you'll know how much time you're spending on your screens, is if you had 1 hour less a day on your phone, what would you do with it?
Homework, probably.
Probably.
Okay, that's good. That's the right answer. Well done. Yeah.
All of our homework is online now.
Yeah.
Some of it.
Yeah, we've got lots of online platforms that we do our homeworks on.
But you wouldn't be on social media, right? You'd be on.
Yeah. It's productive still, and I'd think I'd want to do productive stuff. I couldn't just like sit there, and I can't normally anyways.
Do like play an instrument or
just like do
read
productive stuff,
or
and guitar, and maybe pick up a book or something like that.
Exactly.
And I think
that's a nice way to think about it. If you only got an hour back, what would you do with it? And I asked that question to lots of young people, and the answers I get back make me really sad that there's this thing that's just pushed all of that good stuff out of young people's lives.
Like, it's time to like build your brain and get more involved in like the world and culture and stuff
learn
like
some
that.
other stuff.
Just learn other things. A few closing messages then. What advice would you give to young people who may feel overwhelmed by social media?
Well, it's easier said than done, isn't it? But I think there's some good advice which your school and some other schools have recently written out to all pupils about, and I would fully support it. So one is make sure your phone is not in your bedroom at night. So charge it downstairs or well away from your bedroom. You know, if the last thing you're doing at night and the first thing you're doing in the morning is picking up your phone and looking at social media, and I suspect that applies.
I did have to do my Duolingo at like 10:30 last night.
Okay.
Just before I went to sleep because I forgot to do it.
That is educational.
That's educational, yeah. But is your phone in your room?
My phone is on charge in my room. It's like under my bed on like my desk.
An alarm clock.
Yeah.
So I wake up to
my mum's my alarm clock.
Okay.
Now I get up.
So look, you can get an alarm clock for like, I don't know, £5. So, or your mum can be your alarm clock. So I think, get it out of your bedroom and keep it away from your bed. Put on like time limits. You know, everyone's got that ability. I know people kind of override it, but at least it makes you a bit more conscious of the amount of time you spend in. Do some stuff that means leaving your phone away. So like go to a room and leave your phone in another room and just do something and be a bit more present, either with your family or your friends, or read or whatever it might be. Just try and be conscious of it. And same with tea time, just get it away from the table so you're actually sat down having a chat with people. And then in schools, phones should not be in schools. The government have just been much clearer about that in our policy. So like not just out of sight and out of mind, but just like properly away. And that means you've got, that core time every school day where you're not on your device.
Yeah, our school's taking a big push on that, and they're taking a big stand. It's like phones turned off in your bag if you've got them with you. And like now we want to have to use laptops if we're doing like quizzes or Kahoots and stuff like that.
Yeah, good.
Instead of using our phones.
And if you caught, they had to take it away and put it in a safe, and you're not allowed it back.
What's that in your pocket there, Charlie?
Good.
What's that in your pocket?
Well, it's just as well it's Friday, and it's just as well it's past 3:00. Otherwise, I'd be confiscating that phone, Charlie.
Right, this one says an overall question.
All right.
So from the whole interview, what should students take away from this podcast?
Well, I think it is that this is a really important debate, and adults are the ones that are making the decisions about it, but it's really important that young people have their views heard. There's going to be a government consultation, which is like a process that's open to everybody to contribute to, and I'm really keen that you and all of your listeners have the chance to have their view on that as well. And I think this is going to be one of those things that in 10 years we look back on it and think, why did it take us so long to get to this conclusion? And you can be an important part of that debate. And I'd just say to people who are currently under 16, make sure you're involved in it and that you've got your voice heard.
That is a very important message, and anyone listening, please take that away. But on a serious note, the most important question, we ask everybody who we interview this, what is your favourite type of cheese?
Oh, that's a very good question. My favourite type of cheese, so like a really posh answer is pecorino cheese, which is like a hard cheese, which you can like dip in honey, which everyone's shaking their head at me.
There you have it, folks.
Hang on, I'm not finished yet. That's really good. But I do like cheese on toast. I'm like a very, very strong cheese on toast fan. And so like a very strong cheddar. And you want to put it under the grill so it gets like a bit brown. And so you got like the crispy bits on the pan. And then like Liam Perrin sauce on top.
So there you have it, folks. Josh MacAlister OBE MP is a cheese on toast fan and a cheese enthusiast.
Yeah.
So that will be about all we have time for today with this episode of Behind the Algorithm. We will be having more episodes in this series. We can't say who yet because we're trying to keep it a bit of a secret and something for you to look forward to learning about.
Big names.
Big names.
Very big.
Very big names. But can they get any bigger than you, Josh
Well,
MacAlister?
I think they can. I think that's what's going to happen.
But thank you all for taking the time to listen. Thank you, Josh, for coming in.
You're very welcome.
And that's been me, Noah.
That's been me, Charlie.
That's been me, Ollie.
And
That's been me, Josh.
thank you all. See you next time. Goodbye.
Workington Academy Radio.